My brother Charlie was driving his pickup truck down our country highway when he spotted a large cardboard box lying in the middle of the road. And you and I would be tempted to run over that box because there's something satisfying about the crunch of that under your wheels, but we wouldn't do it because you never know what's inside that box. Charlie, however, lived by a different set of rules and decided to hit the box. What he did not know was inside that cardboard box was a washing machine. And the box stuck underneath Charlie's truck, and he couldn't get it off. Nobody knows how much courage it took for my little brother to walk down the road to the country store and ask Ivor Prestige to come help him get his pickup truck off a washing machine. Ivor never let him forget it. For years, whenever they would meet, Ivor would begin the conversation, "So, Charlie, run over any washing machine?" Charlie heard me tell that story and informed me that it was not a full washing machine in that box, but only the top portion. I told him it makes for a better story this way. And he should not insist on factual verisimilitude. Verisimilitude. I've always wanted to use that word in a sentence near the first sentence. When I was a kid growing up in Love Baptist Church in rural Alabama, this is a church that my great-grandparents went to, my grandparents. My mother was born in 1916. She died this past June. She was the oldest member of that church, only church she ever belonged to. And it's probably 15 miles out from Jasper, Alabama, and they run a couple of hundred on Sunday morning. They have all new buildings. Everything's paid for. The pastor's been there over 30 years. It's a wonderful church. And my mama thought that Pastor Mickey Crane was one of her sons. Well, it was a great church to grow up in as a child. And when I was a child, they had a Christmas program that they did every year. And it was made up of two parts. The first part was a nativity play. And to the best of my recollection, it was the same play every year. The only thing that changed is you just played a different part. Like one year I was a shepherd, one year I was Joseph, one year I was Mary. And when the play was over, they would move a sheet from in front of the auditorium, and there was a Christmas tree there, and they'd stand it up in the corner, and Santa Claus would come up out of the basement, dressed in his red suit, a bag thrown over his shoulders, filled with little paper bags full of candy and fruit and nuts for all the children. And it was a grand occasion for all the little ones. And this went on year after year, until the year we got a new pastor who had been an evangelist. Now, I don't know if you know the difference between a pastor and an evangelist, but this is good information. A pastor has all the questions. The evangelist has all the answers. And you take an evangelist with all the answers, and you make him a pastor, you have yourself a formidable leader, one who does not need any advice from anybody because he's got it all worked out. Sometime in the fall of that year, he and his wife Joanne had gone to some church members' home for Sunday dinner, not lunch, dinner. And the tradition in rural Alabama like that, the rural South I suppose, is that you don't just eat and run, you sit in the parlor and visit a lot, or sit on the front porch and watch the traffic go by and make small talk. Then you go home and get a nap and come back for eating at church. Well, they're at the small talk part of the visit, and the lady of the house she's just making conversation, and she says it's about time we got started with our Christmas program. And he said, "What do you do?" And she told him. And he was all right about the nativity play, but when he heard about the Christmas tree in the front of the sanctuary, and the Santa Claus come up out of the basement wearing the red suit, the man almost had a set of dishes. He said, "You do what?" And she told him. He said, "I don't think we'll be doing that anymore." She said, "Yeah, we've been doing this a bunch of years. I expect we'll keep right on." And he said, "Not in my church." She said, "This is not really your church." He said, "Not in the Church of God." She said, "We don't know how they do things in the Church of God. This is a Baptist church." And they went round and round. Well, by nightfall, it was all over the church. And by that week, it was all over the town. And everybody was choosing up sides. One group supporting the preacher. Preachers know a lot more about sin than anybody else if he says it's sin. And we need to quit it. the other group supporting the children. Some of these children, this is the only thing they get for Christmas. And it's always good to do a good thing in the house of God. And so there was a gulf between the two. This rocked on for a couple of weeks like this, and finally they decided to resolve this issue in the time-honored way of God's people down through the years. They held a business meeting. The place is packed out, because if you want to get a big crowd in church, just have a controversy, no matter how silly it is. And so the place is packed out. There was an aisle down the middle. One side over here supporting the pastor, it's sin, we need to quit it. The other side over here supporting the children, it's good, and we're going to keep it up. And the discussion went on for an hour or two, and it was hot and heavy. And so after a little while, they took a vote, and they did something that I think was pretty mature. They decided that so long as this pastor was their shepherd, they would do it his way. He stayed 2 years and left, and they went right back to it. So I know they're still doing it. And the other thing that came out of this meeting was a statement that was made in the debate back and forth. People throwing, it was like an early Jerry Springer show, with everybody shouting each other down. And in the middle of it, it's sin, we need to quit it, and it's good, we're going to keep doing it. But in the middle of that, and in the middle of all of that furor, one little lady who had been a member of that church for 183 years stood to her feet, and she said, well, if it's sin, we've been sinning all these many years, and I don't see no reason to stop now.